This is Food for Thought, a podcast for all, but a specifically curated conversation for men and those that love them. Food for Thought is powered by the Brothers Brunch, which is an experience that focuses on three specific ingredients: cuisine, culture, and connection. The Food for Thought podcast adds to this experience as it's intended to be an expansion of one's palate that explores the human side of leadership, the reality of our relationships, the legacies we intend to leave, and other drops in life's proverbial bucket that provide men with the tools that they need in an effort to lean in as better husbands, fathers, and friends. Welcome to the table. This is Food for Thought.
Hey, what's going on? People. Had a little technical difficulty there. Not sure what happened, but welcome back to Food for Thought. This is Kevon Terman, your host. This is powered by the Brothers Brunch, and today we have an explosive conversation. I know I say that every single week, but today is no different. I have one of my homies that will be joining me on this platform today, and I'm really excited to talk to him just because, we were talking offline and we've always known each other, and we obviously went to the same school. Not obvious because not everybody knows that. But I want you all to meet this gentleman just because I think who I knew back in school, this brother has evolved in quite, a beautiful way. So I would like to have a good conversation around getting your mind right today. We always talk about mental health. We always talk about mental illness. We always talk about men's health and things of that nature, just because the Brothers Brunch, the way we're built is that we try to pour into men so that they can leave and show up as better husbands, fathers, and friends. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my boy and pretty much present to the entire Lincoln community, my boy Ty.
What's good? What's good? Peace and light, everybody. What's the word?
Peace and light. I should have started with that. What's going on, man?
Nah,
Yo,
man.
thanks for being here today, good brother.
Gratitude. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. No, man. So listen, like I was telling you offline, we've obviously known each other for a little bit. Now, what year did you graduate from Lincoln?
I graduated 08.
08. So that means I was working at Lincoln when we met, obviously. So I want to get into that. So why don't we just start by you telling.
Well, peace and light, everybody. My name is Ty Daye, born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I graduated from Lincoln in 2008, dual degree, philosophy of political science, minor in criminal justice, concentration in pre-law, cum laude. I started, as soon as I graduated from Lincoln, as a legislative aide to Ronald C. Rice, which is a West Ward politician. From there, I took my career to be a senior aide to the Honorable Mayor Ras J. Baraka in the city of Newark. And now I transitioned over to Newark Public Schools, and I'm the attendance counsel for Newark Public Schools.
Nice. And so, did you always know you were going to be in education?
Absolutely not. First off, I never wanted to take any education classes. I never was thinking about the praxis. I wasn't thinking about none of that. But I knew one thing about myself personally, that I love the youth. I love giving back. I love helping our future leaders of tomorrow in some way, shape, or form. So I think that space for me in the education system always was good. I always done a lot of enrichment programs for my city and other cities. But, God has a funny way of bringing you into certain environments that He wants you to benefit of helping.
Interesting. We'll talk more about that, man. So one of the reasons, I do this podcast is I love to just talk to interesting people. And I think I know a lot of interesting people. I mean, listen, we go to Lincoln, you're going to leave with knowing a lot of interesting people. And so I want the audience to get to know you a little better. Tell us a little more about your just whether or not you had your dad around, whether your mom and dad married, do you have siblings? Tell us a little bit about that and kind of what makes Ty. Where did Ty come from?
So I was raised by a village. That's what I usually tell people. My mom and my dad, they kind of separated like when I was like 8 or 9. So it was like a little split. But I was raised by a village. My dad is still around. My mom is still around. Uh, I have this thing that's called like a triple threat. So the triple threat is my mom's, my aunt, and my grandmother. So it's like a variation of that. But granted, uh, my grandmother, my aunt is on my father's side, but when it come down to like strong women in my life, I always put all of them together. My dad is. Let me see. How can I explain this man?
You keep it real.
He, nah, he's a dope dude, man. Like he always wanted the best for his kids. He always tried to make sure we was in schools and off the streets. We grew up in a rough neighborhood, and it was kind of hard for that space for us to grow up in. If anybody knows about North New Jersey, especially growing up in the '90s, wasn't really a place that you wanted to be in. But I mean, God got us here. You know what I'm saying? I'm still cool with my father today. I'll say
Nice.
that my father is more on making sure his kids is good, food's on the table, uh, taking care of his responsibilities. But I always tell him like that emotional intelligence piece was always missing. Like I really could never go to him about things of that nature. So that's when my mom kicked in. That's where the nurturer piece came in and whatever. So I
So can we
always went
stick?
to
Can
my.
we stick there for a minute? Is nurturing solely the job of a mom? And where did
No,
we get that from?
it's not actually. I mean, we got that from history times, man. I mean, think about it. And I say back in like this, shoot, we could even go through slavery days and stuff like that, like how um the male and the female was looked upon. You feel me? Like the male was like the breadwinner, the hunter. Like he was the one that was sitting there getting like the stuff for the slave masters and stuff like that. And the woman was more of the nurturer, cooking in the fields, um, like outhouses and things of that nature. And then if you want to sit there and peruse through the like if you want to come up more like 50s, 60s, 70s, those platforms about, the woman being in the house and the male sitting there being at work and things of that nature. The woman was cooking, cleaning, things of that nature. But now, that of course that narration changed right now, right? Because black women are doing the damn thing. The women empowerment movement is crazy right now. So black women are not just the nurturers; they are the CEOs, they're the bosses, they're the managers, like they're running it. And now we have black men that are um, bringing that platform up to make sure our women are protected on these stages, right? So, but I think as just that nurturing piece, no, I feel like black men uh, needs to acknowledge that we have that as well. That's why our brains are split, right? It's a masculine and a feminine piece of our brain. So the thing about it is with the neurological system, black men haven't been able to tap into that or hone into that piece because they still don't know about the traumas. They haven't had that therapy. They haven't had uh, that piece that was able to have them tap into that resource yet. So granted, that's might how it has it been in the past, but the here and now, I feel like the redefining of black masculinity is changing. But when it comes down to black women are actually changing the game from here on out. Like they are the trendsetters. They are the women that are on these platforms. I mean, look at VP Harris that just got into office. Look at Michelle Obama. Just look at everybody that's been transitioning into these inspiration black women, these Me Too movements, these like we have so many people that are doing stuff in life now. So the masculine and feminine piece, I think, is the equality. It's not a trait.
Interesting. So what I hear you saying is that there are two energies that we all possess, and there's a masculine energy and a female energy, and that's separate and apart than what we would perceive or what society would make us believe that if you have a feminine energy, that it's necessarily a bad thing, or it means that you are, homosexual, gay, or any of the above, right? Not that there's anything wrong with any of those lanes, but that energy, like I need to know, how do we teach people that every human being has two different energies. And so growing up in our society, to have or to hone in on any other energy other than the masculine energy is a problem. Why is that?
Well, there's a book that's called Cry Like a Man by Jason Wilson. It talks about how the black
I
men
got it.
have been, yeah, I got it too. You about to have me
Yeah.
pull my joint out.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I got
crazy.
it.
My joint, yeah, my
I
joint
know
right
that.
here. I got it near and dear to me.
Yeah.
It talks about how the black man has been in emotional incarceration for over 400 years.
Right.
And this is how we were taught within the lifestyle of, you got to be hard, you got to be tough. I mean, you can't let society see um whole lifestyle of you sitting there showing emotion, right? Like, you can't sit there and be out here crying. You can't be out here, you know, playing that type of hand, that vulnerability hand, right? So, but we didn't realize that how not being vulnerable and not showing emotion was actually more traumatic than we thought. I mean, just personally with me, uh, I have in one of my poems that how I used to see more caution tape than ribbon cuttings, how I've seen more funerals than weddings. And I was numb to all of that because I was so used to seeing it. But then there was some traumatic things that happened to me not so long ago that actually got me into therapy. And then I found out I had so much backed up trauma that I didn't even know about that I had to embrace. I started pouring out tears. I started like, just being more open with self, becoming vulnerable, saying like, yo, I got to find ways to love myself again. So I think this is just a process of like black men tapping back into that source. I mean, granted, outside of just the LGBT community, I don't care if you're gay or you're bisexual or whatever, like that, you're still a black man. And I think we need to start acknowledging black men to the point that it doesn't matter if you're gay, it doesn't matter if you're bisexual, it doesn't matter if you're heterosexual, you're still a black man and you should be treated as such. So when I think the transition happened from the night, like I say, late '90s, 2000s, when the LGBT community started getting stronger and stronger. But not only just that, I say probably maybe within the 2000, 2010, that's when black men started like resurfacing and opening up in reference to these spaces, right? So it's like it's a test of time, man. It's always like we're always transitioning to something new. So I think what it takes is that we need more black men to step up to start speaking their truth and realizing that we don't always have to be hard all the time. We always don't have to be tough all the time. Like you just can't wake up tough. You can't just brush your teeth tough. You can't just wear your book bag tough all the time, man. It's not that deep. Like sometimes you
Well,
got to
well,
learn how to relax.
I hear you. So let's talk about let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to who you were in college, right? Talk
Mhm.
to us about who I was introduced. Do you remember when we met? Remember with that? You have any idea, or was it just on the yard?
Um, so I mean, on the yard, man, on the yard was an experience, bro. I mean, of course,
You
if
became
y'all
a
don't,
member of.
I was about to say, if y'all don't know, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity and Beta chapter at Lincoln University, and it that kind of transitioned me in a different way. Like I didn't act totally different after I got my letters because I felt like there are some people out here that get their letters and think now all of a sudden like they're times 10. Nah, bro, you still the same person, you just got more responsibility. So I think when I met you on a Greek tip, like it was just like, okay, I know how we were taught, like, oh, it's about the bros, then it's the noops, then it's the alphas and all this other stuff like that, like the chants and all that other shit. But at the end of the day, we was also linking men. I don't know if like how Miss Royal had us become student leader ambassadors, or we had to be a part of all these programs, community service projects and stuff like that. So I didn't meet you on no beef. I met you actually on great platforms. You feel me? Like, and that's where I realized like we were linking men. We weren't like Negroes. We weren't like F boys and stuff like that. Granted, we might have had some of those tendencies back in the day, but of
Moments.
course, the more you involve, of course, the more we involved and we matriculated during our linking time. But we look like okay, it's more than that, right? Like we got to graduate. We got to get an education. Like we got to be we got to be those role models on campus. You know what I mean? Like we can't just be out here being a stereotypical Q dog or the stereotypical Newt and stuff like that. Like it was a duality about us, but we also had to make sure that we were staying as Lincoln men first.
So they say Q Dog versus Omega Men. Like, where are you in your journey? What does that even mean?
Oh man, you know, for real, man, I'm like 15 years in, bro. Like I've been on Omega Man for quite some time, man. Like I feel like that Q dog lifestyle was like a college feel, maybe like a couple years after college, but that's when, you know, I wasn't in like certain like relationships and stuff like that. Like I always just tell people like, you know, I'm an Omega Man in the streets, Q dog in the sheets and stuff like that. But now I'm just more like an Omega Man because you gotta think about it. Like I got students following my page, right? I have politicians following my page. I have execs following my page. I can't be out here throwing hooks, sticking out my tongue, wilding and stuff like that, popping balls. Like, you know, I got a platform and I got an image that I got to make sure and a reputation to keep. So that time was more like, you know, I feel like that was more of an experience, and Omega Man piece got me ready for the reality of life.
I like that. I like that. All right, so let's jump into it. Today, we're talking about, I'll just reset the room. You are listening in to Food for Thought, and we are talking to Ty Daye, gentleman for whom I've known since I want to say 2005 or so.
Yeah.
It's been quite some time, and we both have grown quite a bit. And so while I may follow him via social media, we don't talk every week, we don't talk every day. But we do respect one another, and it's been quite some time since we've had a mano a mano, like talk brother to brother. So I appreciate him today. We are talking about getting your mind right, and so we're gonna jump right in there. We're gonna ask if men's mental health were a person, place, or thing, who, where, or what would it look like?
Mm. If it was a person, place, or thing, who, where, and what would it look like? If mental health was a person, like without putting a trait on it,
Okay.
it would be a person that, because it's going to be coinciding factors, right? Because I'm going to go from the person, the place, and the thing. So if it was a person, it would be a person that realized, you know, they're going through different mental health behaviors. Like if it's, um, let's say, if it's anxiety, depression, stress, different coping mechanisms and everything like that. And this is a person that feels like they need help. So the place they will be going to is getting therapy or some type of therapeutic consultation. And the way how that embraces it is that okay, you're finally acknowledging that you do need help. You're holding yourself accountable and owning up to the mistakes that you know you allowed to happen or things that happened to you that probably was self-inflicted. So I think now what mental health is like people are finally having awareness of what their behaviors are and be able to express that within the community and showing that we all need help in some type of variation. So I'll say the person will be the awareness, the place will be therapy, and the thing that I say you can do it is on a platform by speaking your truth and showing that, you know, we all need help and it's okay to receive therapy. It's okay to get assistance or consultation in reference to that piece and always practice awareness around your neighbor communities.
All right, so I hear you when you say that. So in this conversation, right, and so we have about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little less. This is all about understanding the dichotomy of like in-depth emotional understanding and masculinity, like these two entities. We talked about masculinity. I hate to even use the term toxic masculinity because I have my own theory behind that. I'm not sure. I think it's a social construct in a sense, and that ultimately, sometimes, most times, is the lack thereof, right? And then it dovetails into the masculine and the feminine energy and all of that good stuff. So it depends on how long you got. But when it comes to
Mhm.
like this dichotomy of the in-depth emotional understanding and really truly understanding yourself and what it means to do that work and masculinity, and then of course it's a society and their perception of what that looks like and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Talk to me about what you do or how you've come into your own in terms of really digging deep in terms of who Ty is outside of what the perception is of either the women on campus or the bros or whomever. You know, when you left college and what happened? Where was that moment when you decided that you were going to do the work to really go deep in terms of your emotional understanding of who you were?
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you. That didn't happen until like recently. Like I'll say it didn't happen until like 2018, summer 2018. But even before we even get to that piece, um, I already had it in my mindset how I was. You feel me? Like I wasn't trying to be nobody else. Like I was just Ty. Like Ty was just like the one that liked to travel, the one that liked to hop, the one that liked to be a part of multiple organizations, the one that liked to have been student leader ambassador. Like I was just always like around. I mean, I was always busy. I was always doing this. But I think after I got my degrees, and being the first person in my family to graduate college, that's when the shift started happening of actually having responsibilities and growing up. This wasn't college no more. This was real life. You feel me? So that's when I felt like a transition started, when I actually had the paper in my hand. So after that, I went through a series of things outside of just work related things. I was the founder of this thing called North Greek Council, where I brought Greeks from all walks of life. It was like pretty much between that grad chapter and that undergrad chapter. Like that gray scale. Like you weren't there and you weren't here. So you just wanted just to embody like different cultural aspects within that mechanism that I created, along with people that I had as chapter officers at that time. But if we want to talk about that place when it came down to toxic masculinity, when I knew something was going on with me, so I guess we might as well just dive into it. 2018, I went through a series of unfortunate events. That summer of 2018, I lost a dear friend at a young age through health problems. One of my family members was diagnosed with cancer. I was unemployed at that time from transition, and I was coming out of a toxic relationship to the point I didn't even know who I was anymore, bro. Like it was like if a stolen car drive by came through, I felt like it was just my time to die. I was just all effed up. I didn't know how to sit there and move, shape. People that I used to give my shirt off my back to, money to, like things like that, they left me. They left me for dead. They left me on my lowest point, and it was crazy because I'm a very empathetic person. Like, and I think that was the problem, right? Like I always give, but I never knew how to pour back into my own cup.
Hmm.
And then it was that time after therapy that my therapist was just telling me that this goes back to what I was talking about, the accountability, acknowledgement, ownership piece. There was so many layers of trauma that I didn't even know about. And then the thing about it is I had to acknowledge that I was in those toxic environments. I allowed myself to be in those toxic environments, which made me toxic. So like it wasn't just other people, right? It was myself as well, because I allowed me to be in those spaces, right? I allowed to be around
Sure.
people that were petty, shady, um, talking shit about people and stuff like that. I was in those circles, right? Not saying that these circles didn't compliment people that were success, career driven and oriented, but their behaviors didn't. Their behaviors wasn't like that, right? So then I really had to embrace it. It was a lot of alone time. It was a lot of solitude that I really had to find myself, man. Like I call myself imperfectly perfect. What do I mean by imperfectly perfect? Meaning that I embrace my flaws. I know that I am a work in progress, and I'm perfect under God's image, which shows that I am a work in progress. So I guess that's when I started really finding myself. I started walking into the unknown. I started being uncomfortable. Like I stopped staying in stagnant places and started drifting off into the unknown, the road less traveled. And I guess in 2019, I started picking up. I was kickboxing at the time, and then I was going to the gym. Like I started doing things that I love, writing poetry and all that other stuff like that. And then a fellow colleague of mine was saying, "Ty, you need a balance. You should do some yoga." And I was sitting here like, "Yeah, man, I don't know about all that. Like, you feel me? Yeah.
Yo, I need a
I
balance, but yoga.
word like I did take yoga back in 2010. The past mayor, he he had this thing called The Biggest Loser. I know you're probably familiar with The Biggest Loser. That's like a world-renowned thing that they was probably having around the U.S. That he did that within the community in the city, and you just pick any activities that you want to do to achieve your goals and stuff like that. They had a yoga piece within that, so I used to walk past the yoga piece all the time because it was all women in there, and I didn't want to feel like a whole creep, right? I was like, yo, I'll just go play basketball, go lift weights and shit like that. So it was one time that I walked past the room, and the lady saw me, and she's like, "Hey, you're always walking in past. Why you just don't come do yoga?" I'm like, "Because there's no men in here doing yoga. When's a men's class?" Like, she's like, "No, yoga's for everybody." And she made an example out of me. I won't forget it to this day. She made an example out of me by putting me in front of the class and like pulling a yoga mat out for me. And I was just like, "Yo, I don't know what this lady on right now, but I mean, I'm just gonna go with it." So I just used it to the
And this
point
was at
that
Lincoln.
what happened?
This was at Lincoln.
No, this was after Lincoln. This was a couple years after
Okay.
Lincoln.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was when I had my first gig in City Hall. And so then after the 6 month program was over, she's like, "Yo, you're pretty good. Yo, you should think about doing yoga more time." I was like, "Yo, man, black men don't do yoga. We especially don't do yoga in Newark. So I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "All right, well, this practice is gonna find you again. I'm already putting it out in the universe." So here we are, at that time, 2019 came and I'm back doing yoga. So
Right.
like my first class coming back was a hot yoga class, right? And I'll tell anybody in life, do not let your first class be a hot yoga class.
That was my
I
first class.
swear, right? I swear, I
Sweating in
sweated
places
out,
I didn't know I had.
bruh. I swear, I sweated out a whole person. I was
Yep.
just like, oh my God, when is class going to be over? But it was in that very moment that we were in Savasana. So if anybody don't know what Savasana is, it's the corpse pose, the meditation pose when you're laying down after class. And it was at that very moment what I finally knew what being present and really
Wow.
meant. Like being in the here and now really meant. And I was like, okay,
That's
I'm
good.
gonna start adding this to my routine. And then I started taking it more seriously and seriously. But it was my past relationship that almost put me back more into a dark time. But I guess we can get into that when that segment comes. But I started getting more serious about it. And then one of my new teachers that I was rocking with, it was a Power Flow studio that I was rocking with out in Jersey City. And she was like, "Yo, you should really think about being a yoga teacher." I'm like, "Okay, now you're really bugging. Black
Mhm.
men don't do yoga. I know black men that do yoga in reference to like sports and all that just to warm them up, but not being a yoga teacher." But then I was like, I think that's the problem. So there's nobody back home doing yoga. Like when nobody was knocking on your door. It was like, "Hey, Kavan, do you want to do yoga, meditation?" No, you was basketball, track, football, singing, college, gang affiliation, or you take your ass to school. Like there wasn't no type of holistic practices back home. So I guess to make a long story short with that, 2020 came. I started going through my intensive program, and I became the first black male yoga teacher in the city of Newark, New Jersey.
Nice. Nice. I love that. So two things. I'll tell you quickly about my yoga experience and Newark, man. I spoke at two graduations, right?
Hmm.
But one actual high school graduation, I was the keynote speaker and or commencement speaker, whatever you want to call it. And for a school out in Newark, New Jersey called Foundations Academy.
Hmm.
So not sure if you ever
Foundations
heard of
Academy.
it,
Okay.
but it was a
Nah, but go
school out
ahead.
in Newark, man. It was a great opportunity, man. I wasn't familiar with Newark otherwise, other than I think
Hmm.
Whitney Houston is from that area, right?
Yeah, Whitney Houston, Lauren Hill, Shaquille O'Neal,
Yeah.
Queen Latifah, couple
Oh wow,
heads.
I didn't know
Right.
all those people. All right, cool.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
to say a
yeah.
few, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
my
just
first
say a
experience,
few.
man, was actually with Kathleen. So you know Kathleen,
Yeah, yeah,
Reedus.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She that's my home girl. She's like a little sister, man, and she invited me out to NYC. No, I'm lying. I was coming out there to meet with a donor, but I was gonna be there for like 2 days, and so we met up. We did. She said, "All right, well, I'm gonna do yoga," and I'm like, "Yo, I need to spend some time with you," and she was like, "I'm gonna do yoga," and I was like, "So you want me to like come do it with you?" And she was like, "Yeah." So it was, I guess it's called Bikram or Bikram or whatever.
Bikram.
Um,
Bikram.
Bikram. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting. um, yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, it was, I was drenched afterwards. So I wasn't ready for that, but it was a great experience nonetheless. Then we grabbed a bite to eat afterwards. And the eating part was the part that I did very, very well. So thank you, man, for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And so you mentioned this whole notion of relationship, and I want to dig into that, and I'm trying to figure out. We're about a half an hour in. You reading the comments? You got some love. People showing you love out
Yeah,
there,
I
man.
don't know what's going on. Oh, all right, Brick City in the building. What's good? How's everybody doing out
Um,
there? Shout out.
Here we go. Yeah, I want to talk about relationships, and I want to talk about you mentioned strong women as well in earlier in this conversation. So it's interesting because um, as I follow your conversation, we talk about strong women,
Hmm.
albeit you grew up in a house full of strong women, albeit your mom, your aunt, so on and so forth, and you know you get into relationships, and then sometimes the relationship um, doesn't work out. And what I've found in terms, I always ask this question to some of my past guests is almost like who hurt you, and explain what you learned from that. And so I want you to talk a little bit about what this relationship did to you, and how you felt in the moment, when you were rested and rooted in love, and how you feel now, and what you can honestly say came out of that was positive. Got your tissues? I got you, bro. It's a safe space.
Uh, uh, um, yo, man, this past this my past relationship really tested me a lot. It planted a lot of seeds. Let's just say that. I'm gonna give you the analogy why I said it planted a lot of seeds. But
Okay,
uh, I was I ignored a lot of red flags with my past relationship. I think it's just. Am
I
I
got
still
you
there?
now. Yep.
Okay, cool, cool. My apologies. Um, my past relationship, I ignored a lot of red flags because I loved the person. It was very hard for me. She was actually Greek as well. We met on a charity event actually, and we seen that we had a lot of things in common. But the crazy thing about it is we were on two sides of the spectrum. If anybody is like really familiar with astrology and things like that, so I'm a Capricorn and she's a Gemini. If anybody knows about Geminis, that right there should explain this whole conversation that's about to happen right now.
This is a
So I'm
Scorpio
Earth,
space,
she's
man.
air.
That's all we know
Two
about.
different
Okay.
sides. Uh, well, yeah, you're water, so you let things flow. You feel me? So I dig the vibes. So, yeah. First started off great, like any other relationship, right? The chivalry and courtship was always there. I was raised at a young age about being chivalrous and courtship and stuff like that. Like my mother, she raised me with the back of her hand. Like I always tell people, like I call this a happy trigger. And the reason why I call it
Okay.
a happy trigger is because my mother, like say for example, you walking your woman down the street and she's on the opposite side of the street. My mother would be the one to backsmack me. Hey, time out. Am I a hoe? Am I for sale? So why the hell am I on this side of the street? So
Right.
she'll
Fact.
sit there and find that behavior made me make sure she was on the opposite side of the street. Or, for example, if you're getting out of the car and don't open the car door for her, and my
Chivalry.
mother's waiting in the car door. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, yeah, open the door. I get smacked on that. I'm like, yo, why am I still in the car? Because I didn't know, but I found out later on in life what that means. So the
Yep.
reason why I say that's a happy trigger, because anytime I do this with my female friends or my sisters and stuff like that, I feel
Right.
like I have to do that because I feel like my mother's gonna jump out of the bushes and smack the shit out of me. So I was
Hey,
like, yeah, we're not gonna have that scenario happen no more. So
whatever works.
so I guess fast forward into the relationship, yeah, whatever works, right? Um, I think to fast forward into the relationship, she had all of that. You know what I mean? Like her sorors used to tell me she never had a situation like this before, a stable man and all that. But this one shit got real. I say in 2016, um, like think about how you met your significant other's parents. I met
Mm.
my significant other's parents off a phone call that I had to get from one of her sorors saying, How you doing? My name is Ty. I know you heard a lot about me and things of that nature, about being your daughter's boyfriend. I just want you to know that your daughter's missing. But don't get me wrong, I'm going to take off of work and find her. So basically, the
Oh,
reason why I'm saying that is my ex tried to commit suicide. I never been with a woman that tried to do anything of that nature. I was scared. I didn't know, like, but only
wow.
at that period of time, my masculinity kicked in. It's like, as a man, you got to find your woman. You got to make sure she's good. So I
Sure.
didn't find her till like 8 hours later. You know, people was texting me like, "Yo, Ty, like, your girl needs some help." And she, at that time, she was
Wow.
saying, I don't want to go to therapy. I want people to think I'm crazy. I want you to protect me. So at that very moment, no black man is going to tell a black woman that he's not going to protect her. So I was put in an awkward situation at that time.
Okay.
That was one scenario. Another
Okay.
scenario, like she just had some bipolar ways that I didn't know how to deal with. I don't like arguing. Like, I like healthy dialogue. I like compromising. She didn't know how to do that. But with me being who I am, like, I walk away from arguments. Like, I'll go sit in my car, roll something up, or go into the park and just be at peace for a minute and come back into the scenario. Like, I like ending
Okay.
conversations like healthy. I don't like going to bed mad. So
Sure.
there was a lot of things. Then I guess because I was a popular person, not only just with Greek life, but also within
You
my city,
popular?
it was always the situation. I mean, I
I'm just
mean,
playing.
anybody can call it what they want. You know, I feel me.
I
But
get it. You good.
nah, I think she uh she always thought I was cheating
Okay.
and things of that nature and stuff
You're
like that. I'm like,
cute.
yo, man, I got you think, yeah, I'm a Q, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. But I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, woman, like, my credit is in my credit is on your apartment, so you have a place to stay. I was literally about to like commit a felony just to put her under my insurance and claim her as my spouse. I was I was gonna go head over heels for this woman. Like, I'm a ride or die type man.
You were in
But
love.
yeah, I was in love, but I think I was blinded by love. And
Okay.
that's why therapy actually, and this is when I was talking about the Planet Seeds thing. I think what she did for me was, and I remember it like it was yesterday. She told me one thing after the last time I spoke to her. She was like, Ty, you are so grounded in North that you don't see your worth. Like, you have the gift of gab. You know how to motivate people. You're very passionate. If you learn how to embrace your purpose and find out who you are, you're going to be able to change the world. That was her last. I think that was one of her last messages after she pulled some shit. In 20. Remember I was telling you about 2019. She tried to come back
Yep.
into my life. Called me from a block number. Told me that, hey, look, we need to talk. I think we need to rekindle. Mind you, I didn't speak to her in like 6 months.
Hmm.
I was vulnerable at that time. I was open. I was healing. And I said, yo, we need to take it slow. And we did not take it slow. And then she ghosted me again in like 4 weeks. But I think at that period of time when she ghosted me, she didn't wait until having me sign my name on a lease again as her guarantor. So one of her stores told me, and I remember this to this day, she might be bipolar, she might have all these behaviors, she might be all these things, but one thing she's not stupid. She knows how to get what she wants by controlling people with her emotions. Very manipulative, has narcissistic values, but she made me think I was that. So after therapy, my therapist was just like, yeah, but people that say that are usually that. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And I try to deny it all the time, but I had to grow from it, bro. The seeds that she planted was me stepping out of my comfort zone. Now, like, I'm known internationally in reference to yoga and meditation. I'm speaking my truth all across the world in reference to like everything that I went through. Like, I have a motto that I said I traded my trauma for a book bag, a yoga mat, and my testimony. And like,
Wow.
the thing about it is,
I see something in the
it takes
comments
two
that
to tangle
says
because
he's
I
talking
wasn't.
about my ex. That's hilarious.
Yo, man. But as a man, so once again, this is about ownership and accountability, right?
Absolutely.
Um, the thing about it is that I was emotionally unavailable.
Yep.
So
That part.
I didn't know how to express emotion, but I knew how to sit there and receive it. Like, if my ex was going through some things, I'm gonna be there for it. Nobody, nobody disrespects who I'm with. I'm gonna ride for you. I got you. But when it comes down to me crying in front of her or doing, I didn't know how to do that. And then when I was being vulnerable to this woman, she knew how to cut me at the ankles when we got into an argument. I know a lot of us can agree when we have those relationships. Oh, that's why you this, that, and the third. So I'm like, yo, bro, but I told you, I told you from a dark place. Like,
Now
like
you're
I
throwing it
nobody
back.
knows that, and that hurts.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and then now you're throwing
A
it
little
back in
bit.
my face. So she knew how to get under my skin a lot. But
All right, Ty,
I've learned. But
let's sit here for a minute. Let's sit here for a minute because you're saying a lot, and I want to make sure that we're able to digest it and do a little unpacking. As if that wasn't the most overused phrase for 2020. But
patience.
what I want to talk about is this notion of like when men are hurt. We understand what the pain looks like and feels like with women, but knowing who you were, and the journey that you've taken through college and becoming a man, right? And finding this love that like you had all types of feelings. There's a lot going on there because you how do you show up in a relationship, an emotional relationship, unable to emote? Like, how do you show up and be emotionally unavailable? So that one of the questions I was going to ask is, what part do you think you played in that? And so I think you already answered that. But it's hard when you only have but so much capacity, and you put that on the table, and just to be kind of, for the food to be thrown in your face. And so I want to talk a little bit about like how that makes men feel. And this also supports the conversation we're having today in terms of getting your mind right. Because I think, I would imagine that you threw yourself into yoga because yoga is the place where you would find your center. But I want to talk about like ways that we cope in a sense, because men, we tend to suffer in silence, and particularly when it comes to emotional relationships, and how to express that you're hurt.
Oh man. Well, first thing about it is that I realized that I didn't love myself like the way I was supposed to. This whole time, like after therapy, I realized I didn't love myself. I was loving everybody else, but this goes back to the mechanism of pouring back into your own cup.
That's deep.
I was always doing for others, and I think I was running myself ragged. Like I was running myself confused all the time. I was always busy. Like I was at a meeting, I was here, I was here. Then I got to show my significant other love. I got to show my family love. I got to do this. But it was never about me. I felt like if I was being about me, then I would have became selfish, and I don't live selfish. You know what I mean? So I felt like it was my duty to always give back. But then my therapist told me like, yo, you gotta have time to be selfish. You need space. You need to learn how to pour back into your own cup. And I think as black men, when we tend to try to be vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? We want to make sure the vulnerability doesn't come with an agenda. If I'm being vulnerable with you, I don't want to know that you're going to sit there and use my vulnerability against me. That's why black men stay heavily guarded, because if we become vulnerable, it's like, damn, man, like that shit came from a dark place, bro. Like, how can I embrace you like that anymore? But then it's like now it's about being openly vulnerable. It's about like, you know what? You don't care how people feel about you anymore. You play that masculinity and femininity piece, right? Because now you're not speaking just to one individual. You're speaking to
Nah,
yourself and you're speaking to the world.
but
Because they're
Ty,
all black men out there that need
so
that. They need that.
that part. So stay there. Tell us more about how you get there, because that's easier said than done. I think we both remember being men who could not go there in terms of actually sharing feelings. Like it takes a while to get there. When do you think that switch was flipped for you to be able to share and to be able to actually um show up, like, and regardless of how it looked? Because here's the thing: all it takes is that one woman to take something that we had to go deep to give and throw that back in our face. It's hard to recover from that, and we got a lot of brothers who, believe it or not, are a certain way because what won't happen again is that.
let's see. So the space, the way I got into that space was solitude. I would tell any black man that's going through a breakup, a divorce, or whatever have you, you really need to start spending time with yourself. Don't try to get a time filler. Don't try to get a void to fill. You need to just work on self, because only
That's
thing
good.
that do is just a temporary. That's a temporary happiness, right? Like that's just something that's just to appease your loins, but not appease your mind. And I think as black men, we need to realize like what mindset are we thinking? Are we thinking with the one that's on our mind or the one that's between our thighs? We literally got to sit there and realize that our mental health plays a strong role with this, because we got to know what that hurt feel like. We have to learn how to heal. How do you learn how to heal? It's literally saying, I need to be alone and find out who the fuck I am. And what does that feel like? It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of frustration. It's a lot of time like, damn, man, like what do I love? Like, what do I care about? What makes me happy? Like, you gotta feel like you shouldn't have somebody complete you. You need to
Mm,
be complete before you go into something. Like, I always see relationships, they say, oh, that's my other half. That's my other half. No, it should not be like that. Y'all should both be whole and bring value into the relationship. That's where
that part.
relationships end up toxic, because you're looking for somebody to complete you. If a black man is not complete, stable, don't got his shit together, he should not be looking to find another counterpart to sit there and engage with. Because only thing that is going to do, you're going to blame the other counterpart to say, oh, is this person's fault that I'm not here, or I'm not here, or I'm not here. No, it's your fault, because you decided to pursue somebody because of either their being attractive, or because it was at that time and day you wanted to sit there and be like, all right, bet I need to get them now. No, you should have just take that time to be with self first. And I think black men really need to take time to be like, yo, you know what? I'm not okay. I'm
That's
hurt.
good.
I need time to myself. But we're not doing that, right? So it takes men like us to sit there and create these platforms to say, look, bro, like it's okay to be by yourself, man. I don't know if it takes a year, 2 years, but you need to make sure you're together. And whatever together looks like for you, then that's you. You know, you don't mimic somebody else's lifestyle. You feel me?
Yeah,
Like, mimic your own lifestyle. Look in that person in the mirror that you wake up every day, be like, you know what? I'm more than enough. I am powerful. I'm strong. I'm resilient. What affirmations are you saying to yourself?
that's
And
good.
that's like the platform that we need to go through. You got it. Yeah. So that's pretty much how I look at it.
Yo, it's the funny thing is, I said on this platform before that marriage for me has been, um, it's not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person. And I didn't know that obviously until, I'm 16 years in, and you
Congrats,
get to a,
bro.
thanks, man, I appreciate that. You get to a point where you just understand, like, wow, all this time I'm looking for her to do this or her to be this, and all of that. And then when you spend that time alone with yourself and you start to really understand what this life is about, man, it really is very clear that, and it's funny, I say this jokingly to my wife, like, that's between you and your God, right? Because sometimes I think the earlier part of my marriage, I focused way too much on trying to change her or mold her into what I thought she was supposed to be. And it was such a waste of time. I'll never get that time back, because guess what? My wife is who she is. And guess what? Neither one of us are the same people we were when we met in college. Catch that, right? We've grown up twice, maybe three times over, and nor should we be, right? So this relationships and the complexities of relationships are just, it could be very daunting, but I think the simple concept is that relationships is not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person. But in order to be the right person, you got to do the work. You got to do the work, man.
Right.
And
I
so,
think, so what I, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. You got it.
No, I was going to say it's all about alignment. For real, for real. Alignment and divine timing will bring you the person that you seek. You don't have to seek the person. It will already happen in alignment. And I tell people, like, in reference to that past relationship that had you in your darkest hour, you gotta realize that, you know what that person did. That person didn't hurt you or harm you. They pretty much got you ready for what God is about to bless you with. and you didn't know what that was because you had your blinders on your whole life.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was stagnant, bro. I was just doing the 9 to 5. I was just doing the same shit all over again. And now that I've been by myself, like I said, I'm the first black male yoga teacher. I have 7 certifications. I have 5 businesses, and I have a clothing line that just dropped a month and a half ago, and my website just got done. I didn't have all of that, and I'm about to start I'm writing my book as well. I didn't have all of that when I was in my past relationship. But the thing about it is, my mindset was sacrifice. I sacrificed all my energy to make sure my significant other was good, but it was
Wow.
never sacrificed back. But now I gave myself the sacrifice and gave God. You know what I did? I deleted free will and I went to His will. And then
Hmm.
that's when I started going to God. God sit there and say, you know what? You're done. All right, bet. Now do my work and watch your blessings will overflow. And now I'm able to pour it back to my own cup. Now I'm able to inspire the world. That's why I'm now internationally global around the area, coming from an HBCU. You know what I mean? They didn't even know
Right.
shit
Right.
about me, bro. I'm just a brother from the numb streets of North. They wasn't teaching yoga and meditation out there. So how did they find me? They saw my platform. They saw my journey. They heard my story. And now I'm able to sit there and teach other young black boys that are in need of this thing. I get DMs and texts all the time like, bro, you inspired me to go get therapy. You inspired me to tell myself that I need to work on myself. And it's okay. And black men need to realize, yo, we're not in competition with each other. We should be more collaborating with each other. We should want to lift each other up, not talking behind each other back. If we all going through some shit, we need to talk about it, not sit there and belittle that black man because you don't know. He might act tough in front of you, but when
Yeah.
you go behind closed doors, you know that scenario. He gonna cry in the car. That
Yep.
shit really does happen. That shit really does happen, and we don't realize how important that is. That we need to sit there and love on our brother. We really need to be there for our brother, and I think that
Right.
goes back to the coping mechanisms of mental health and relationships. How you find your significant other. You find your significant other by loving. Lead with love all the time so you can live in peace. And that relationship will always be filled with love. And you'll know how to handle healthy dialogue and compromising and things of that nature. And it's going to come into fruition.
Man, I love that. So as we try to wrap up, man, I think we got a good maybe 7 or so minutes, and if we go over, that's fine. But I want to ask you just flat out, like, what does is yoga now like a lifestyle? Is this something that you can see yourself doing 20 years from now? And how far are we taking this?
So yoga is not, I wouldn't say lifestyle. Yoga is just my testimony, bro. Like I think if I don't have yoga in my life, like yoga is also therapy. Yoga is love. Yoga is life. Yoga
Hmm.
is like something that keeps me at ease. You know, I always tell people I have a duality about me. Back then, if yoga didn't come into my life, I don't think I wouldn't know how to forgive people. I don't think I would always want revenge. I will always be like, all right, you did me dirty, bet I got something for that ass. But now yoga has me in a space that I can practice my duality. That's why if you read my hoodie, it says 50% namaste, 50% you got me fucked up. That means I know how to balance my duality now. Compared to back in the day, it was always get backs. But I think the biggest thing with me was forgiveness. Yoga also taught me forgiveness, forgiving people and forgiving myself. It taught me how to love. It taught me how to embrace things in a different manner. So it yoga, I feel like will always be a part of my life, and I just want to be able to pass it down to other black men, bro. Like,
Okay. So how do
so
we do
that's
that?
what it is. Yoga is more than a lifestyle. Yoga is a journey. I'm going into enrichment programs right now in schools.
Hmm.
In North New Jersey, I'm teaching young black men and young black men, women yoga and meditation. Some people got me in platforms around the U.S. teaching their kids. I'm about to start a tour coming up after this whole COVID scenario gets situated. And yeah, I have classes online that I teach young black men and young black women. So it's happening. The movement is happening.
So if we have listeners out there that, particularly black men who have thought about it and now they're sold, like, what will be the first step?
The first step is to show up for yourself. Meet yourself on the mat. there's no such thing as a perfect yogi. You know what I mean? Like being in yoga is about progression, not perfection. So like when I first started yoga, I wasn't nice. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like I was sitting here in this white dominant studios, sitting here competing with them, and I was just like, why am I competing with them? The only person I'm competing is the man in the mirror. So at the end of the day, if you want to do yoga, you need to get out of your own way. And I'm hosting classes all the time. Just follow me on social media. I want to be able to go back to Lincoln and actually teach yoga and meditation, because there's a lot of our people need that shit back at our school, at our alma mater. But if you follow me on social media, I'm opening up my personal page in February 1st.
Yeah, I was getting
It's
ready to say you
called
disconnected.
I am Ty Daye. So
You stepped away from
yeah,
social media a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. So yeah, so I was on a spiritual and social detox for a month. I needed to go tap back in the source before I get ready for 2021. Everybody else say, yo, 2021 starts January 1st, which is my birthday, by the way. But
Nice.
I tell people January your journey starts when you're ready. Like, and sometimes you need to step away so you can be ready. And
Hmm.
that's why explain to people, yo, you the only person know when you're ready for that. And we can sit there and have some consultation work. I can sit there and talk to you about certain things. We can break through some barriers and stuff like that. Because yoga is more than just movement. Yoga is about your mental. Yoga is about your spiritual. Yoga is about your physical. It's about everything. So I would say just people follow me at Yoga Every Day for right now. That's my business page. I'm gonna do a lot of tutorials and the benefits of yoga and also nutrition. And then when my personal page opens back up in February 1st, just know I'm just letting everybody know out there the testimony will be televised.
Nice, nice. I love that. And hopefully, in following you, they can learn more about. Are you still going to go in the podcasting piece? I know you had two partners you were working with, I believe.
Yeah,
So
man, we're gonna be doing this thing called Drunken Vegan. So it's two, three brothers that's coming together that are vegan. We all on our vegan journey and stuff like that. We're gonna be talking about uh, the vulnerability of a black man becoming vegan.
mm,
We're gonna be starting that. We're releasing the first show actually next week, and we're gonna constantly continue to keep doing monthly shows. So be prepared for that. And yeah, I'm just hitting every platform, bro. There's no
yeah,
door. There's no door that I can't open because God got me. So at the end of the day, whatever door God tells me to go through, I'm going to go through it. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it right now.
bro, I love that, man. I love that you decided to sit down with me today, and I love the title, "The Vulnerability of a Black Man in Becoming a Vegan." I think that there's something that's dope. I think a lot of black men have actually thought about it, and would love to be able to tune in, man. Would love to be able to support you. I'm going to ask you one question, and you're going to ask me one question, and we're going to end to today's broadcast. So my one question is going to be: if this Ty could give Lincoln Ty a piece of advice, what would it be and why? You like that's bars, man. I kind of spit. I'm gonna say it again. If this Ty could give Lincoln Ty a piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Ooh,
Man,
oh man, be patient, trust the process. Don't give don't give up your pearls so easily,
hmm.
and believe that believe stop don't stop and learn how to pour back into your own cup. Like don't give so much of yourself so easily,
Hmm.
and just make just always think with your mind first. You know what I mean? Think and just trust it and trust the journey from there.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. We'll leave it. We'll leave it there. You said don't give up your pearls. You're referring to giving up of yourself. Uh, what does that mean? Okay, got it. Got it. Got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
don't give up yourself so easily. I think
Okay,
when we're in college, it's an experience, right? We're just
sure.
experiencing, we're learning, but we don't have that knowledge. But
Right.
now the fact that I was like, just be patient.
I like it. I like it. All right. Last question is on you. What question do you have for me?
Where do you feel in your life right now that you can sit there and put a platform together to have Black Man Hill outside of your podcast? Are you doing the work?
Am I doing the work for me, or am I creating a platform for Black men to do this work? No,
Creating
for
a
sure.
create a platform for Black men doing it.
Yeah. So, great question. I am absolutely creating the platform for Black men to do the work. The Brothers Brunch is that platform. So, this podcast, Food for Thought, is powered by the Brothers Brunch, which happens to be two entities. Right? There's a business side to the Brothers Brunch, where I officially have an LLC, and then there is a nonprofit side to the Brothers Brunch. It is the Brothers Brunch INC Incorporated, and so we've been incorporated since August of 2018. And so we are official 501c3, and we do the work on both sides of the spectrum. So I go into colleges and universities each year, particularly outside of the COVID environment. I'm actually flying into these schools, and we're doing these talks and these brunches, which are, again, providing young men with tools that they need to show up as better husbands, fathers, and friends. We are absolutely doing the work. It's funny, when you were talking about going back to Lincoln, one of my first Brothers Brunch on a collegiate level was at Lincoln University, and I'd love to be able to partner with you on that, just so they can get a full realm and full experience of doing the physical activity of yoga, and then really coming out of that and having a conversation while we break bread. I think it could be something powerful. So if you're open to it, I'd love to be able to cultivate that when the world opens up, of course. But I think alongside of that question, I am working on something that I can give you a piece of, but it's a community where brothers will be able to have more of these conversations, and so I can take all the work that I've done in various communities and create one ecosystem, if you will, where brothers can have these spaces, and prayerfully, it's unlike any other space that we have out there, albeit Clubhouse and the whole nine. So this is an important space, a conversation amongst men. You think it's common, but believe it or not, outside of sports and women, these conversations don't happen often. So yes, I am doing the work. I think the problem is, I say a lot that I no longer want to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. And so I find
Mm,
myself on fire sometimes, and because I do so much and I'm pouring into so many people that I'm exhausted, and who's left to deal with that other than my wife? And so I'm trying to do better and do more work within me, so that I can be replenished and revitalized, if you will, to go out and change the world. That's my struggle.
that's deep, bro. I mean, it's always about, like, you got to know the people that are there to nurture the soil and the people that are there to grab the fruit.
Mm, that's good. I'm gonna have to write that down. The people that are there to nurture the soil,
there
as opposed to the people who are there
there
to
are
grab the
people there
fruit.
are people correct. Now, I mean, you gotta think about it all the time, man. Everybody want full access to your light, but don't want to take what it would be to go into your darkness. So you always got to think about that. Now, I mean, there's always one people that want to be there to nurture your soil, to see you grow and elevate. But then there's always people that want to grab the fruit while you already blossom. Now all of a sudden they want to be there for you. Always remember who's there for you and who's not. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Man. And on that note, good brother, we can end this show. That was powerful, man. Ty, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for man, sharing your light, sharing your love. Um, your boy, man. Yo, Malcolm. Let me tell you something about Malcolm, man. Yo, one thing people don't realize. Now, my wife knows this, but Malcolm, out of all the Qs in the world, man, I'm closest to him. I consider Malcolm to be a really close friend, and really like a brother. And it's so funny, man. If you could be a fly on the wall with our FaceTime conversations, bro, Me, him, and my wife, man, we go in. This is my guy, but he's a whole fool. He said, "Throw them hooks, please don't." Yeah,
That's my
but
that's my pro fight. I can't not do it.
yeah, that's my guy, man. He's I appreciate his friendship. Like, and what I appreciate about Malcolm is his friendship is not televised or exploited. Most people probably wouldn't even know that we were close, and that to me is what you were referring to in terms of the people in your corner and stuff like that. So, and that's what highs and lows, because we've had some real low conversations. Any closing thoughts, man?
To everybody out there, man, I just want to say I just appreciate you for tuning in to Kavan's podcast, man. I feel like he's doing a phenomenal job bringing awareness to not only just the brothers, but just to different communities all around the world. If y'all not following, please follow this brother. If y'all not following me, please follow me. If you so choose to, I'll be humbled and honored to accept your request. And just know, man, your current situation is not your final destination. You have so much potential. You are strong. You are powerful. You are resilient. You are more than enough. And if nobody told you today, yesterday, this week, this month, or even the start of 2021, you are loved. You are appreciated. And the light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.
Dope. Yo, stay in the green room. I'm gonna put you in the green room, and we're gonna do the outro, and I'm gonna ink the wrap to you for a minute. All right.
Say no more.
All right. This was Food for Thought. We appreciate you all tuning in today. It was an explosive conversation with Ty Daye. Remember, follow him. Follow this brother. He's doing great things in the yoga world as well as the education world. Again, as always, we really, really appreciate you all just jumping in. It's a conversation among folks. I mean, look, if it's 2 people tuning in, if it's 20, it really wouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's about sitting down with good people and really just having a conversation with some extraordinary folks who think differently. That's what it's all about. So peace and love.
This is Food for Thought, a podcast for all, but a specifically curated conversation for men and those that love them. Food for Thought is powered by the Brothers Brunch, which is an experience that focuses on 3 specific ingredients: cuisine, culture, and connection. The Food for Thought podcast adds to this experience, as it's intended to be an expansion of one's palate that explores the human side of leadership, the reality of our relationships, the legacies we intend to leave, and other drops in life's proverbial bucket that provide men with the tools that they need in an effort to lean in as better husbands, fathers, and friends. Welcome to the table. This is Food for Thought.